Hi, is Marie. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to you.
Good afternoon, thank you.
Hi, hello. Hi, Milo, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Milo. Good to see you again.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was with cam, without cam.
You can choose as you like. Okay, very good. Well, then it's 2:01, and as we always say, we'd like to start on time and finish on time. So first of all, well, a very warm welcome to all of you, the ICCA members. It's great to have you with us today in this first webinar in part of our DEI series. My name is Gemmeke de Jong, and I'm part of the Education and Impact team within ICCA. And together with my colleague, Cindy Serros, who is here also online, we're thrilled to actually be joining this session together with you. Some of you might know that for ICCA, DEI is actually one of our pillars. And we've been hearing the last year that it's important to keep working on DEI and to keep telling and talking and discussing more the topic of inclusion and what does inclusion mean? How can we be more inclusive in our events and congresses, but also maybe within our teams and organizations? So we're very happy to have Giovanna from ELTA here today with us to tell us a little bit more, and then specifically on the LGBTQ community, how we can make sure that our congresses and events are more inclusive to this specific community. Maybe very practically, the idea is that we have about 45 minutes of presentation by Giovanna and Luciano, and then we have another 10-15 minutes for Q&A at the end, of course. If you have any questions in the meantime, please just put them in the chat, and Cindy and myself will keep an eye on them, but we'll be discussing them at the end. And of course, if after the webinar you feel that there's still any questions you would like to discuss, feel free to reach out to us anytime. You'll be getting a very small survey at the end as well, just for us to understand how you found the webinar, of course, but also more importantly, which other topics the coming 12 months you would like to have organized by ICCA for you in terms of webinars, as we're doing today. So with no further ado, thank you again very much for joining us, and then I would like to give the floor to Giovanna.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. Thank you for your time spent with us. So I'm the General Secretary at ELTA, which is the European LGBTQ+ Travel Alliance, based in Brussels. And we do work a lot with the mainly with the European countries in order to improve discussions and advocacy towards the LGBTQ+ traveling community. In this case, so first of all, thank you and hello everyone here. And we try to understand, first of all, why we need to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion in 2025. Let's say we have different types of diversity. When we talk about human diversity, we can consider them under different spectrums. We have gender, origin diversities, age, culture, religion, nationality, physical abilities, identity, and sexual orientation. So let's say that gender and identity and the sexual orientation are our main topics today. When we talk about the LGBTQ+ community, first of all, we need to understand what is the meaning of this acronym, LGBTQ+. So it's a lesbian, gay, bisexual, intersexual, queer, trans, plus we can say that there is a huge number of identities and diversities when it comes to gender, to human gender. We count more or less 70 different genders and perception of ourselves. So when we talk about gender, we need to understand that every personal expression of personality and of our sexuality can have huge importance in our day life. The expression of our gender is based on 3 main pillars. identity, the way we feel ourselves, what we think we are, the way we talk to ourselves. Then attraction, how we connect with the external world in terms of attraction, personal attraction, in terms of, let's say, romantic attitudes, and also the biological sex, which is the sex we have been given at birth. So these three main pillars represent the expression of our gender. As we said before, we are talking about 70 different gender expressions. So that is a huge number. And sometimes they are said to be quite, let's say, awkward or queer. Q in LGBTQ+, Q represents queer for whatever we understand, we think it's, let's say, different. Different is not a word which I like very much, but I must use it in order to try to understand why we so often fall into stereotypes and prejudice. The word different nurtures stereotypes, and because our brain needs to organize knowledge and the world outside into specific, let's say, sectors, like we have sort of drawers in our brain, and to keep the knowledge of the world in order. So whatever goes outside of something is different from our knowledge of the world, seems something different, sometimes something outrageous or risky or dangerous or not so common, something we should fear of. And we need, actually, this is one of our main challenge, to overcome stereotypes, to overcome prejudice, because actually every kind of sexuality is really, let's say, normal, even though we know that psychologist Freud underlined that there is no normality. The word normality doesn't have any specific meaning in everyday life. But anyway, as we give a meaning, we give a sense to the word, whatever we feel something outside of our normality is something awkward, something strange. So the first thing we have to understand, we have to be aware of, is that we need actually sometimes to reorganize the way we look at everyday life, we look at our experience, and we manage our experience, our emotions about other people's feeling, about our connections in our community. Why is this topic so important now, and why is it so important when we talk of hospitality, even when it comes to business traveling, incentive, congress, and so on? Because let's say that the global state of LGBTQ plus human rights is not so good at the moment. Actually, we have a number of countries, 16 UN countries, which seems to have reinforced laws taking care of LGBTQ plus civil rights. But at the same time, many countries have made no significant change, and many others have really had a decline in their concrete improvement. Let's say that the United States, unfortunately, is nowadays an example of this. But at the same time, we have on the one hand the importance of civil rights for the LGBTQ plus community, and on the other hand, we have the importance of economic numbers, of revenue numbers when it comes to LGBTQ plus, to an LGBTQ plus travel community. Let's say that in 2024, actually the community has been traveling for $3.9 trillion. And the United States, just the United States produced almost $100 billion, and this is a continuous improving number. Actually, the world traveling community should project a total revenue of almost $600 billion by 2030. So this is a very, very significant impact. Nevertheless, we have countries which have tried to keep in order their civil rights laws, at the same time try to protect their civilians when traveling abroad. For example, Denmark, Germany, and Finland felt the need to give correct information about safety, for personal safety when traveling abroad. The power of inclusion is really huge. Being inclusive in any activity we do, when it comes to business traveling, to incentive activities, to event organization, is fundamental, because we have it's not just a matter of being respectful of civil rights. It's a matter nowadays of challenging safety risks. So the huge aspect, the most important aspect we have to consider is they are mainly two: tackling movements away from D&I, let's say, try to work with suppliers, with companies which do believe in the importance of the diversity, equity, and inclusion. And on the second hand, let's say, try to understand, try to put in action all possible strategies, marketing strategies, which really embrace the LGBTQ plus communities. Actually, we are talking about the LGBTQ plus community as an umbrella talk, because actually when we consider that we are respectful of good practices in order to be LGBTQ plus welcoming, we are ready to be really really welcoming for any possible community. Here is a very interesting graphic about tourism in Europe. First of all, please consider the huge amount of people being part of the LGBTQ plus community. We know that almost 10% of world population belong to the community. So it's a huge number. We are almost 10 billion people in the world. So let's say consider that at least 1 billion people belong to the community. So travelers are really a lot. 67 million of international arrivals in Europe in 2023. And actually, this has, let's say, fostered the quality of hospitality in many European countries, and mainly the activity, the main important activities have been marketing activities, because the LGBTQ plus community can be really a very good target in terms of brand fidelity for those companies which really demonstrate advocacy for their civil rights. Again, some other numbers: 55 billion total revenue in 2023 created in Europe by the community, 2 million LGBTQ plus employees in Europe working in hospitality, and 68% chose an LGBTQ plus hotel or destinations. So let's say the one question comes to our mind: how can we work with the LGBTQ plus community? What can we do in order to attract them in our events, in our incentive activities, in whatever we organize for not just for the community, for the LGBTQ plus community, but maybe we can choose destinations, we can choose the perfect timing when including also their participation. Actually, also I want to share with you a couple of numbers more, which I think are extremely interesting. As I said before, diversity, equity, inclusion, mainly in hospitality, is not just a matter of values. It's a response to growing risks, and mainly it's a response to new needs. Gen Z has clearly demonstrated that 70% of Gen Z travelers are really influenced by the capacity of advocating for civil rights in their travel decisions. and safety is the main focus for the community, for the LGBTQ plus community. Also, consider that when we come to the working place within hospitality organizations, it has been proved that you can really improve your income, grow your income if you have a diverse staff. McKinsey in Diversity Wins in this report dating back to 2023 has clearly underlined that 33% are leadership with 33% of diversity are able to do better and to get better results in terms of economic revenue. Now, let's see what do we need to understand about a queer traveler. If we think of an event organized with panelists or delegates belonging to the community, what should we know? Which needs and which expectation may they have? Well, first of all, because we talk of a community, we cannot say that all members of the LGBTQ communities are the same. We have, let's say, queer families, we have solo travelers, we have business travelers, we have just leisure travelers, and so on. Anyway, we know that the LGBTQ plus community travels much more than the mainstream travelers. More or less, they spend 30% more than, let's say, mainstream travelers. And also, even though they know and they are perfectly aware, the community is perfectly aware, they can face huge challenges when traveling. For example, being outed at passport control or not being accepted in certain countries. Please consider that 70 countries in the world still criminalize homosexuality. So you cannot think of traveling to those countries, and in case you organize events in those countries, which are mainly concentrated in Central Africa and the Middle East. Actually, we must remember that they can face really important challenges, and this is a huge problem for them. LGBT travelers, for this reason, when they travel, consider safety much more important than luxury or special services and amenities. Safety for the destination, safety within the hotel, safety within the event location are their main focus. That is the reason why, if we want to approach LGBTQ plus delegates, we want to create an LGBTQ plus advocacy event, for example, then we have to consider some experts and some very good practices in order to differentiate ourselves from what we call the pink washing. Exactly like we have greenwashing, we have a pink washing when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. Unfortunately, we can have a lot of examples here. For example, we have just listed 10 signs of pink washing, things that you shouldn't do, let's say. So first of all, say that everyone is welcome, but the staff are not trained to understand what this means. Or use rainbow flags in marketing, but has no internal diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. We cannot be attractive if we are not advocating for good welfare within our company. Participates in Pride, but book anti-LGBTQ plus speakers or vendors. Promote inclusivity, but gender option or binary at booking. When you send the form, for booking or for registration, we should always consider that we can go beyond the binarism, male, female, but also we know, we have already said that we have a number of gender diversities. Then display LGBTQ plus support, but has never hired a queer consultant or never had anything to do with a person belonging to the community. Focuses only on gay men, but ignoring trans people, lesbian, or Black, Indigenous, and people of color travelers. No crisis protocol is in place for guest harassment, and also never collected LGBTQ plus customer feedbacks in case we are organizing an event in a venue. We must understand the way, we must train the best way those part of the staff having a direct contact with the delegates, with the public, with the audience, because we do understand, we must understand that they may have very different needs and expectations. Or no LGBTQ plus representation in leadership or in vendor network. D&Is and or in those and also we should also avoid to consider D&I as something which finishes with the Pride Month, which is June. Now, for this reason, if we want to work and we want to involve the community, we think that we must understand better the persona, the buyer persona, which characters, which features differentiate them. We have solo trans travelers, which are extremely, they pay extreme attention to what we call gender neutral booking systems, or the use of the correct use of respectful pronouns. Then we have the BIPOC LGBTQ plus travelers. They navigate intersections. So in this case, they may have different expectations because they mix up their race and queerness aspects. And sometimes it may be a challenge to organize the best way events when we consider the BIPOC LGBTQ plus travelers. We can have queer families, so two mom or two dad families, or co-parenting queer collectives, and they are extremely focused on a kind of kid-friendly experiences. So if we want to involve families, queer families, we must consider that maybe kids may have specific experiences and visibility, but we must create something concrete and train staff how to behave with them. Also, LGBTQ plus business travelers, we said that they spend quite a lot. They are usually trendsetters or are in important working positions. They often seek inclusive services, access to booking platforms, and they are extremely aligned with their values, especially with the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and with the ESG. Here we have listed some of the best and the top LGBTQ plus travel destination 2025, which can be chosen if you decide to organize something with the LGBTQ plus community. We have top destination for solo trans travelers. We have a top destination for BIPOC LGBTQ plus travelers, or for queer families, or for business travelers. Actually, we talk about Europe as we are a European association, a European alliance, but of course there are many other countries outside of Europe. What can we do in order to improve our marketing? Well, we have, let's say, three important things if we want to work with the LGBTQ plus community. First of all, being authentic. Let's say, try to involve the community, the local community, into activities which can be part of the event, which can be, let's say, that part of the event which goes with breaks, for example. You can have opportunities to work with the local community, with the guides, with artists, or with the community leaders. They can bring their own experience. They can share their own experience, or they can bring their own storytelling. This is extremely important. Authenticity. We don't just talk about the LGBTQ plus community in general. We must bring stories. We must bring concrete and realities. Then things that you can do again is trying to use graphics when you promote your events, which really connect with all possible diversities. So you should show diverse body types, ages, races, reflect real couples, families, or solo travelers. We don't rely just on a cis gay male imagery or white. We have also to consider lesbians. We have to consider trans people, BIPOC people, and also don't use pride as a touch point, as a focus for all your activities. Considering that the June is just 1 month, you do the D&I activities during that month and then just forget it. Just do a little bit, maybe during Pride, if you can also consider to support the local Pride, but then let's say create your own policy in order to foster your concrete and authentic advocacy for the LGBTQ plus community. Also, there are some, let's say that there are some dates which are extremely important. For example, March the 31st, which is the Trans Day of Visibility. May 17th, the International Day Against Homophobia, Bisphobia, and Transphobia. October the 11th, National Coming Out Day. November the 20th, Trans Day of Remembrance. These are dates you can keep on your agenda and try to consider to do something during those days in order to advocate and to really demonstrate that you are on the side of the LGBTQ plus community. Also, when it comes to activities on your website, you can use a specific imageries and graphics. Here you have some let's say some sites where you can find a specific LGBTQ plus graphics, gender spectrum collection, tonal, and napping. As said, please always consider your concrete and authentic advocacy towards the community when organizing your events, and let their voice come up. Let their voice speak whenever it is possible to do that. Choosing a friendly destinations becomes less and less difficult. We have this LGBTQ plus travel index, which has been elaborated by the Data Pill, which is now an American company. They can give you very good indications about which countries and which locations are really LGBTQ plus friendly. This is not just a specific LGBTQ plus index. This is an hospitality index, but it is really fostered by a huge amount of reviews coming from the LGBTQ plus community. So this is extremely interesting. The LGBTQ plus travel index is easy to find on the Data Pill website. Here, a very quick overview of what is happening in Europe. Let's say the green countries are those which are really advocating for civil rights, and as long as we go towards the red color, let's say civil rights are less and less respected or are completely forgotten for the LGBTQ plus community. So let's say the situation is quite hybrid, I would say. Mainly Spain and France are really doing a great job. Also, Portugal is growing fast. The United Kingdom as well. Eastern Europe, including Italy, seems to have a lot to do again for improving civil rights and advocacy for the LGBTQ plus community. What can the destination do, and what you can do with the destination in order to help the LGBTQ plus traveler? First of all, provide information on the legal landscape of the destination. This is extremely important. Please consider, as I said, that there are countries where being an LGBTQ plus member and is something completely abused. And not only that, homosexuality is criminalized. You can go to jail, or you can get death penalty, which is, let's say, terrible. It's still existing, I'm afraid. Provide information about the culture, giving an overall view of local culture. Involve local authorities whenever it's possible. If we talk about a country where there are no civil rights advocating for the LGBTQ plus community, of course, we cannot involve the local authorities. We can involve embassies. We can involve consulates. We can involve the local community. Safety in numbers. Try to understand effectively what is happening in that specific destination in terms of homophobia or in terms of aggressions and harassments. Encourage the adoption of technologies. For example, GeoSure is a fantastic app which can be used for safety reasons. Giving priority to mental health and work to diffuse depression of hiding sexuality. Nowadays, as you know, many events consider those chill out rooms, and this is extremely appreciated by the LGBTQ plus community because sometimes they feel to be really pressed in terms of sexuality and gender expression. Step by step, what can we do to become more and more inclusive in the MICE sector? These are just a few bullet points, essential points, and just, let's say, some little hints we want to share with you in order to start to work with the community when it comes to the incentive sector. So, as we said, safety is extremely important. The destination safety is extremely important. Consider everyone needs. We have seen that there are different members, different expectations within the community. When we talk about business travelers, or when we talk about queer families, when we talk about trans people, so different expectation and different needs and different expectations. So pay attention to badges. Please always consider the correct pronoun you should the person, the delegate wants to be used. Diversity among speakers. As soon as it is possible, try to consider diversities amongst speakers. Diversity is always richness. Give let's say concreteness to narration. Narrate what you do. Narrate. Take your time to create your own storytelling with the community. Telling what you are doing in order to make them a part of the event. Inclusive communication in that direction, not tolerance for any harassment, and create your own policy in order to keep under control this specific aspect. Try to collaborate with the local communities and create your own model of work with the local communities. Always take into consideration feedbacks. Create your own feedbacks forms to be handled back when your event is finished. Monitor, measure, and share your experiences. And whenever, if you consider that important, please have a look to Queer Vadis LGBTQ plus certification. Few words about this certification. The certification is addressing all, let's say, travel activities, including the MICE sector and in general, all the conference and congress sector. It's a real concrete certification. It's not just a label, because it includes an audit at the end of a training, and a specific handbook is required in order to put down your own policies and to keep it updated. So this is a very important instrument, a very important tool if you want to have your marketing operations for diversity and inclusion under control, and secondly, if you want to advocate for diversity management in your company. So this is a leading protocol. They're just the first one in the world at the moment, because normally we hear about labels, but here we are talking about a concrete certification, which is taken by RINA. RINA is an international certification body with which is located in 70 different countries in the world. So you can have a look too. You can easily find more information about Queer Values and some nice tips about how it works on its own website, which is www.queervalues.com. Very simple. Few words again, 10 tips for serving the LGBTQ plus traveler. So we have seen what improvement, and if you like, get certified and get some more info about Queer Values, which is a certification that ELTA supported for its uniqueness. So this is just, let's say, a sort of resume of what we have been saying so far. So I think that maybe Luciano is here with us. Is that correct, Gameke?
I think so. I think I saw Luciano entering the call. Welcome,
Hi,
Luciano.
Hello, Luciano. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Luciano. Welcome to this webinar. So I want just to spend one simple word about Luciano. Luciano Bersano is the marketing and hospitality manager at Milan municipality. Why he is here with us? Just for one basic reason. He can bring his own experiences about what Milan has done in order to organize one of the most important events for the LGBTQ plus community, which was the international convention, the ICCAWebinar convention, travel convention in 2022 in Milan. Actually, Milan municipality has really worked a lot on this specific project, and I'd like him to introduce and to explain why Milan decided to, let's say, advocate for the convention, and at the same time the kind of work he has been doing and the kind of feedbacks and income the destination has received. Your floor, Luciano.
Okay, thank you, Giovanna. Thank you for having me. I've just 5-6 minutes because I have to jump on another call. But anyway, it was very important, and for me to say a few words about our collaboration and our experience with you and with LGBTQ plus target. I mean, and with ICCAWebinar in Milan in 2022. I will try to be very quick, very short, but it was such a great opportunity for us and a great experience for me, my team, and it was great to cooperate with Giovanna, with Saunders and Beach, with the Italian Association, LGBTQ plus Association, because we started working on this with Giovanna, Alessio, and all the teams in 2017, I suppose, when we applied, or maybe 2016. We've been working together for years, and then we had the opportunity to host this big convention, which gave us really a consistent added value in terms of branding, in terms of tourists, in terms of communication, and it was kind of natural. I mean, yeah, a natural path for Milan, because Milan has always been an inclusive city. It's in our DNA, you know. And then, of course, we have. I can speak for two different reasons. Firstly, our administration, in terms of policies, has always been very open to this, to DEI generally, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it was quite easy for us to join and to work together with Giovanna and the team to host the convention, and to work on the city community, to spread this message, to involve and to engage the citizens and the associations and the authors and all the stakeholders in order to work together for the convention and for the city to make it more inclusive and so on. And then there is another reason, a more, I mean, technical reason. I work with tourism. My task is to promote the city, to focus on specific targets, tourist targets, and our natural target. I mean, for a city like Milan, is the typical Milan tourist is a high-level tourist in terms of culture, also in terms of spending, I mean, capacity. So for us, simply in this, I mean, in this kind of idea of tourism, the LGBTQ plus target was perfect for us, has always been, and is becoming always better for us, because the LGBTQ plus typical tourist is has a quite high level of culture, is normally is a high spending tourist. So that's perfect for Milan. And I mean, what can I say more? It was great for us in 2022, because we worked with a good team, as I already said, but also with the local community. It was great because local community gave us a very good feedback. Of course, it's easy. Maybe it's easy for Milan because we have a good experience and a long time experience on this. But we have, you know, we have a neighborhood, just like Porta Venezia, an entire neighborhood which is naturally hosting a big part of LGBTQ plus community. So we started from there, and we try to spread around the message and to work all together. So what can I say? I can tell Giovanna, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for
and we keep on working together.
Yes, thank you very much, Luciano, and thank you for this contribution. And I don't know if we have specific questions for Luciano, because, you know, he's not staying with us longer. If someone of you have questions for him, so please do it now.
Are there any questions in the group for Luciano? Yes, I see Maddalena.
Hi, hello everybody. So I was wondering how was the decision to choose Milan as a destination made? Thank you.
So Giovanna can tell you more better, but anyway, we applied. There were many cities, many big cities. We applied. We started working with Giovanna and the association, ICCAWebinar association organization on this, and then they chose Milan, but it was not that easy.
It was not easy because we were running with Paris, with Bogota, we were running with Madrid, with Sevilla. So we were running with a lot of very important destinations, but actually the impact that Milan created in ICCAWebinar, in the presentation of the program itself, sounded extremely interesting. So that is the main reason why we won the candidacy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Maybe
Maddalena.
Anybody else has maybe any questions for Luciano? No. I maybe have one, Luciano, regarding the Congress. I think definitely the Congress, as you say, aligns nicely with the policy of the city of Milano, which is all about openness. My question is like, do you see now an impact in how you also organize maybe other congresses in the city which have nothing to do with LGBTQ+, but as Giovanna has been explaining, that maybe the way you design or the way you look at speakers are actually impacted positively by your experience by hosting a congress which is all about LGBTQ+.
Yeah, I think I mean I don't have the figures here now, but yeah, we found that there was a very good impact in this. We also work on this with our Milano Convention Bureau. To us, congresses, that is our official convention bureau in our DMO Milano and partner. Yeah, of course, it's a process. You know, you start with leisure tourism, and then step by step you start working on that path. Also, for what concerns MICE segment, which is very important for us. So we found a good impact as well on MICE.
Actually, I can just add a little thing. Actually, the LGBTQ+ community is involved many times in many activities by Milan municipality, not just for congresses or conferences, but also for the citizenship itself, with a lot of local events. And the community has always been part of these events, also for the research of delegates or panelists or speakers. They always do consider an interaction with the local community.
Yeah. And to that point, Giovanna, one of my questions also, and maybe for Luciano also interesting, is indeed like, you know, what is the impact on maybe LGBTQ staff, like your personnel, whether it's in the city or in your organization? Because now we're looking at attracting the traveler, attracting the delegate, but how does it work for the locals, you know, locals that identify themselves within this community? Do they also see the value, and do they, as you say, Luciano, get involved and get support and maybe have a positive impact from this as well?
Yeah, Giovanna, please.
I go for you. Okay.
No. I mean, I can tell about my part into the municipality, or about. I mean, the community is not easy. I mean,
actually, the Milan municipality, as Luciano said, Milan municipality has its own policy, D&I policy, and they are extremely respectful of this. So they do keep into consideration a policy, and actually they have their own ethical manifesto for that. I think that Luciano doesn't want to talk about that because, you know, he's just saying, hey, I work in this place which has a policy, a D&I policy, but actually it's exactly like that. And they are working a lot in improving their statements for people working within the Milano, which is the Milan Tourist Board, and they are extremely careful for their candidacies when receiving curriculum vitae, which are anonymous. They are extremely impactful towards the community. This is, as Luciano said, this is a path which has begun a few years ago, let's say at least 10 years ago, and now it's going on pretty well. So they are extremely advocate. It's really important. It's particularly important for them to advocate for the community, because it is. Well, I say Milan is the most important city in Italy for the LGBTQ plus community. You can find representatives of the LGBTQ plus communities everywhere in Milan, in every possible work, in every possible job. And the municipality itself, it's fostering this attitude.
Absolutely. Thank you, Giovanna. We just see one question coming into the chat. I don't know if you see it, Giovanna. If not, I can read it. So what advice do you have for conservative/Muslim destination in Asia, advanced in organizing business events, to start with the DEI LGBTQ plus journey, openly or otherwise?
Okay, this is a very difficult question, but I think first of all, when we talk about Muslim culture, we know it's not that easy to talk about, let's say, gender diversity or homosexuality and so on. So I think that, well, first of all, let's consider only those countries where destinations can keep a sort of safety for LGBTQ plus travelers. We cannot consider those destinations which, for example, still hang on to the death penalty, because it becomes really, really risky. So let's talk about those countries which are not so extremist. In this case, I think that, first of all, if you want to invite an LGBTQ plus speaker or delegate or whatsoever, you really need to give all possible information about the real culture of your country, and try to establish an emergency system for his presence in your areas, in your locations. Actually, I tell you, I know that Saunders and Beach is elaborating, for example, a specific LGBTQ plus business travel protocol for that. And we understand that the big issue is trying to keep the place safe for those destinations. The first thing which I can suggest, as said, is try to give a complete overall view of the destination to the delegates. Secondly, being able to guarantee safety within the location itself. And third, try to give some good advice about personal behavior. That may sound quite strange or awkward, but I tell you, sometimes being well informed about personal behavior can save your life. So these are the three main things I would do. We can go even more deeper with more insights about this, but it would be quite long. These are the three main pillars I would consider, I would take in consideration if I had to work on a MICE event in a Muslim country.
Giovanna, sorry, but I really have to go. Thank you very much.
Luciano.
Thank you, Luciano. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye. Maybe if I may just continue a little bit further on that question, Giovanna, because I think
Yes.
it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm taking the example of Europe. A few years ago, I know from working with Belgian organizations on LGBTQ+, they decided at some point with the European Association to go for their Congress to a European country where the legislation, as you say, was not in place. So in terms of safety or in terms of like acceptance, that country was not accepting LGBTQ+. But that exactly was a reason for the association to go there and to actually go in conversation with the local politicians, with the governments, to start step by step changing the laws. And I know this is a long-term project. It's not something you do from very quickly, but it was a way for them using meetings and events as a catalyzer for change in a topic which is in this case, like, you know, we're talking about not easy, but very important for humanity.
Sure.
So coming back to that question, when it's about looking at a journey, because the journey for me is about different steps through different times, the question is, of course, if that could also be an option, bringing in a Congress which is about the topic into a destination where maybe they're not very positive or open about it. I mean, I'm not talking about where it's very risky, but where it's kind of not that
Yes.
risky. Could that
Yes.
be an option, do you think? Could that be a way of maybe...
Absolutely. I tell you, this big association working in Europe, which is ILGA, the International LGBTQ plus Association in Europe, every year tries to organize their own event in, let's say, not so friendly destinations. And actually, they are choosing difficult destinations because they want to bring the word. They want to be there to have the opportunity to talk with politicians, to talk with anchormen, with the communication, with media, with everyone who can, let's say, spread the word that inclusion is an extra value. And there are no reason why you shouldn't be inclusive. So ILGA, for example, is doing that, and I do absolutely agree with you about the possibility of involving, let's say, an anchorman or someone, even important delegates, spokesmen all around the world, which maybe belong to the gay community, to the LGBTQ plus community, being part of a MICE event in order to create, let's say, the first fundamental, the basics to start the change. The concrete change, as you said, would take years, decades. And also another very important aspect, changes start from the bottom, start with the young people, start with children, if we look carefully at it. But at the same time, even though schools can be a catalyzer for that, on the other hand, the MICE sector can be a concrete, true trailblazer. So I do believe in the importance of the sector, of being able to change things, or let's say start to spread the seed of a change.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just checking the time. Are there maybe any other comments or maybe questions about the presentation we just heard, about the topic in general, which I'm sure we can keep talking about for a lot, but for the next 3 minutes, anybody maybe?
Okay, I stopped the sharing, so
yes.
you can see
it's
me.
a bit easier.
Okay.
That's nice. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Right then.
No. Okay, I think your contact details, will send the presentation, of course, to all. So people are more than welcome to contact you if they have any more questions. Exactly. And maybe also on that note, we have, for those of you who know, we have our annual Congress taking place in Porto in November. And there's actually a really interesting story that will be told by Kirby Court, who's the CEO of a big convention center in Canada. It's not about the Congress he's talking about, but he's talking about a case whereby they hosted an event by an extreme right person in their venue. And the story he's telling is basically how he dealt with it, knowing that half of his staff is LGBTQ plus identified. And he's explaining in those 25 minutes how he, as a leader, had to manage that situation of an event which was not aligning with the values of the venue, definitely not aligning with the values of his staff. And talking about safety, what did he do? So just to invite you to think, if you maybe would consider coming to Porto, that's definitely an interesting session to continue thinking about this topic of inclusion, whether it's via events, whether it's in your own team, organization, because I think there's still work to do, but we step by step. So
exactly.
Very good.
We have now just a little quick info. ELTA is now part of a huge program, European program, for working on LGBTQ plus inclusion in hospitality staff. Okay. So it's going to be quite a huge project. It would take about 3 years, but I think we will be back with you and trying to share some more infos and insights about how things are going on.
Exactly. Great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today, wherever you are in the world. But it was great having you with us online, and hope to see some of you maybe in a couple of months in Porto or IBT in Barcelona. And as I said, don't hesitate to reach out to Cindy or myself, and we'll happily follow up with any questions you might have. So, and Giovanna, thank you very much for the great presentation.
Thank you.
We learned a lot. So thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.